Good morning. It's Tuesday, March the 31st, and this is The Drill. Thank you very much. I'm Ron, your host and the only true conservative in the United States today. I don't take my cues from the left. I will not pretend to be neutral. I will not simply give you the facts and let you decide. I am partisan, and I am here to convince and persuade. I will tell you what to do, where to go, and how to hang your laundry. I created this podcast to answer the question most asked by conservatives, namely, what can I do? The podcast is short, approximately 5 to 10 minutes long, because shorter podcasts are easier to download and listen to, and shorter podcasts force me to get to the point. I've been listening to conservative talk radio since 1989, and I grew up in a socialist household and have seen the destructive effects of socialism up close and personal. My podcast is made available through Spreaker and can be heard on iTunes, Spotify, Google, and YouTube. Today, what can I do? Quote of the day: Hugh Hewitt thinks he has something to prove, and the left on the horns of a dilemma. All that when I come back. Thank you. What can I do? You can know that knowledge is acquired and not innate. In other words, it's something you're born as a blank slate and you acquire knowledge as you go along. You're not born with all the knowledge you're ever going to need. This is important because it means that everyone can and should learn. It means that being smart is not about how much you know, but how fast you learn. Everyone can learn. Some might learn faster than others, but everyone can learn. Everyone should read and study. Remember that the pursuit of happiness cannot be done on spec. Next up, the quote of the day. Thank you. From the book 40 Rules for Retrogrades by Timothy and David Gordon. Quote, if a man responds line item to a radical's insane proposition in a way which suggests that it deserves more dignity than it actually merits, moderate and incautious listeners nearby may be persuaded in the wrong direction. If they are not persuaded all the way in the wrong direction, they will at the very least lose interest in the prolix dialogue between you and the radical, assuming as they walk away that the truth is probably something of a median between the two positions they heard. On the other hand, if they had heard you simply laugh at the idiotic blasphemy leveled by the radical, your punchy laughter would have well served both their curiosity and their short attention span. Unquote. Next up, Hugh Hewitt thinks that conservatives have something to prove. Thank you. I was listening to the Hugh Hewitt show the other day, and Hugh Hewitt apparently thinks that conservatives have something to prove. He complimented Nancy Pelosi, saying that he thinks that she is doing a good job, and then followed that up by explaining that the reason he was doing it is because the problem with journalism and journalists today is a lack of generosity of spirit. So obviously Hugh Hewitt is complimenting Nancy Pelosi to prove that conservatives have generosity of spirit. No, Mr. Hewitt, the left doesn't lack generosity of spirit, but acts in bad faith. They have ulterior motives. They think that they are reality shapers. They think that reality is a matter of opinion, that they shape opinion, and therefore they shape reality. They think life is about power rather than authority. Mr. Hewitt needs to remember that conservatives never have anything to prove to the left. Next up, school lunches. Thank you very much. In Los Angeles County, the schools all have a lunch program. The lunch program is about giving free meals to children because their parents are too lazy and irresponsible to provide a meal for them. Closing the schools creates a dilemma. The left is always on the horns of a dilemma. What happens to the school lunch program? How are the children going to get fed? Wait a minute. Don't we already provide the poor with food via general relief, aid to families with dependent children, and food stamps? Shouldn't parents have enough of a sense of responsibility to use those resources to feed their children? Isn't the school lunch program a redundancy? What are we getting for our money? Are we really going to be asked to give more and more in taxes or borrow more and more in bonds to create duplicate programs? Wouldn't that money be better spent somewhere else? Didn't Nancy Pelosi once say that the taxpayers should not get a refund from a federal surplus because they wouldn't spend the money right? Is this redundancy an example of spending the money right? By the way, is this socialist paradise? I mean, are we there yet? Is socialist paradise really just a longer version of the movie Groundhog Day, where we mindlessly make the same mistakes over and over? Never mind. Back in a minute. Who is a true conservative? He is the person that has the courage of his convictions and is confident in what he knows. He's the person that understands that cultural conservatism is more important than political conservatism. He's not selfish, but minds his own business. He acts like an adult. He's patriotic and uses common sense. He expresses what he knows and does so with certainty. He makes judgments, refuses to speculate, speaks clearly and definitively, and is not afraid to say no. He's open-minded, asking why rather than why not. He is consistent, credible, and influential, not ashamed of his existence, unafraid to learn or correct his mistakes. He's a normal American, and he is better than the socialist. He's a better friend, father, brother, family member, and just a better person, period. And you have to know that. If you don't know with every fiber of your being that being a true conservative is best, then you're wasting your time. And that brings me to the end of another episode of The Drill. Remember that the left has no authority, no power, and they can't win. Think about it.